Prepare yourselves for a mind-blowing special made by a remarkable team of creators who didn't have a clue what the others were crafting.
Am I evil?
Adult Swim is proud to present The Elephant. Who are you? A story told in 3 parts about finding your place in this cruel world.
I don't understand all that. I'm just a kid.
Wait a minute. You can make everything better.
Yeah, that's right.
The deeper you go, the sooner the end.
Now you draw the next panel.
Such exquisite chaos.
Adult Swim's The Elephant. Friday, December 19th at 11.
Goddamn, I love a good anthology series. For those of you that don't know what an anthology is, it's when a bunch of short stories are told, seemingly unrelated, then come together at the end of the story. There's a bunch of popular examples of this in the media. And in just a couple days, some of my favorite animators are coming together and creating their own anthology animated cartoon. I am very excited, to say the least. Yippee! Hey guys, what's going on? It is me, Pancake Yoshi, or Alberto. Welcome back to the video. If you guys are not caught up with the news, Adult Swim is releasing a half-hour animated special on December 19th, or December 20th if you want to catch it on HBO Max. Also, very quickly, happy holidays! I hope you guys are excited for this wonderful time of the year. Hopefully you guys are all spending with the family. And hopefully everyone's done with finals at this point. Now it's just time to binge some cartoons. The show we're going to be talking about today is actually called The Elephant, and I haven't seen too much promotion about this anywhere on the internet. So I'm happy to be your source of information if you haven't heard about this show, which I'm sure a lot of you haven't. The Elephant Project is actually a pretty interesting one. They brought in 3 legendary all-star animation legends like Pendleton Ward, who created, you guessed it, Adventure Time, Rebecca Sugar and Ian Jones Quartey, who created Steven Universe and OKKO respectively. They'll be working together in their segment, so that should be pretty interesting. And finally, Patrick McHale, who is most known for Over the Garden Wall. Altogether, these animation legends are going to be working on one special. They got tasked with creating an original idea separately, so they don't know what's going to come after or before. Then, they have to kind of try to find a way to make it make sense. To say this is creatively unique, and this massive undertaking of working collaboratively with unexpected narratives is putting it lightly. We actually had a trailer for this special, which I did play, and there's an interesting amount of information in it. The cool thing is AM actually had an interview with Pendleton Ward and Patrick McHale separately via Zoom, and they talked about their process when creating this original idea, their struggles and triumphs, and most importantly, where they're going to be headed after this comes out, which is some pretty big news in the animation world. So, we'll dive into all of that once we quickly talk about the trailer. So, you could probably tell which animation style belongs to who, but in case you were confused, the Grey Lady section is actually Pendleton Ward's, and you can kind of tell with the art style a little bit. For me, it's always the eyes and the neck that gives him away, and that trippy, midnight gospel style animation that we know Ward has been leaning to in the past couple years. But those segments belong to him, which is the first third of the series. The middle section belongs to Rebecca Sugar and Ian, whose story resembles Steven Universe a little bit. It's the one with the funky clothing and the big brain looking guy. And the green man with the scientist looking dude is actually Mr. McHale's, and his art style definitely carries on from Over the Garden Wall, although we barely see enough of it. The show has a surreal aspect to it, very eerie, can turn existential if put in the right hands, which may very well be the case. It is kind of hard to decipher what the actual story is here from the trailer. It kind of feels like a bunch of random scenes put together, and that kind of is what it is if you think about it. I'm sure it'll kind of make sense, but not in a cohesive story that you're used to seeing these great storytellers. It should be pretty fun though, seeing entirely different stories and seeing how they kinda come together hopefully. In the interview with Pendleton Ward, he did say that there was kind of a relief when they finally got together to watch the finished project together and how it turned out. But that means the rest of us just have to wait and see when it actually comes out to see how it turned out. I'll definitely be making a video once the series comes out on HBO Max. So if you guys want to see that or want to keep the convo going, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss that. Okay, now for the juicy part, which is why I really wanted to make this video. As I mentioned earlier, AM actually had an interview with Pendleton Ward and Patrick McHale, and this should really hype us up for what's to come. The first question they asked Pendleton Ward was, how was Adult Swim able to pull you back into animation? He said that it's cool to be involved with an experimental art. It was relatively easy to convince him. And seeing that he was able to work with Exquisite Corpse, which are the group that created this, and technically his friends, he then wanted to jump on board. For the music segment, he asked to collaborate with his favorite band, Dolphin Hyperspace, which is also on YouTube, and he recommends that you check him out. When asked about overcoming not knowing what the other two parts are going to be, he said that it was very difficult to write the first piece of a story without knowing what would come next. But he did include something in the first part that could be used as a connection for the second. He mentioned that he did like the free-flowing experimentation that he was given for this project, and letting the artists do whatever they want was really wonderful for him. He said that he actually did get to watch the final version in a room at Warner Bros, and he was speechless because he couldn't put into words how much he loved it. The interviewer asked if this was the first time that you saw Rebecca and the rest of the gang since they started working on the project, and he said that they do hang out sometimes, and it was really hard to not talk about work or what they were working on, but they knew they weren't able to discuss anything about the elephant, so they had to use very vague terms when describing what they had been up to. When asked about how he came up with his idea, he said that it came out of a stream of consciousness. It started out as an exquisite corpse, which got him thinking of Frankenstein, and he went with the flow from there. He got asked what he thought of the state of animation today, and he said that it's always a roller coaster. He thinks we need to ramp up original content or the robots will win. Once the old stuff gets dry, the studios need to go beyond IP-driven stuff. The interviewer mentioned that Adventure Time premiered 15 years ago and what he thought of Fiona and Cake, which he replied with being happy that the show exists to this day that still provides work for new artists, and he's happy that the show exists as a platform for other artists to play around with storytelling, designs, and art. In the last two questions, he brings up that he's back in LA after a year of being up north. And finally, when asked what's next for Pendleton Ward, he simply says that he's working on a game right now, and hopefully someday he's able to make a living on just game revenue and creating art on his desk for the rest of his life, so he won't have to pitch another series ever again. And that's Pendleton Ward. He definitely brought some juicy information for us. I'm very excited to see his segment specifically, and I'll be keeping tabs on this game that he's talking about because it sounds pretty interesting. Lastly today, we have Patrick McHale, who brings in a different perspective on working on the last part of this 3-part series. They started off with asking him what interested him in joining this unusual project, which he said that at first he felt a mix of not knowing if it would work and of course I'll say yes to this opportunity. But what really drove him home was seeing all the great people that were involved. There was a little YouTube series called Animation Pals made by Pan and Ian years ago, and he was jealous of not being a part of it, so he didn't want to miss out on the chance to work with them now. They asked him how long it took for him to finish his work on the elephant, and he said that it was a couple years ago when the idea was handed to him, but it took a while for them to actually get it going. It wasn't until the end of 2024 and most of 2025 when he actually got to work on it. They asked him about what the best part of the gig was, and he said that it was the amount of trust that was given to him by the executives to create whatever he wanted. He said it would have been impossible to defend his ideas against harsh notes, but they were very supportive about letting him either succeed or fail on his own. When asked about what the most difficult part about making a segment was, he said that it was literally everything else. The project was very hard for him, and he felt hopeless and lost a bunch of times. Writing the third act of a story without knowing about anything that came before it was the hardest thing he's ever had to do, writing wise. It was very stressful for him, but he hopes that all the hard work that was put into it would make it bearable for the audience. When he finally saw the finished project in the theater, he felt very relieved that the story kind of held together and made some sense. And that he was also relieved that it wasn't a waste of everyone's time. He mentioned that he has lots of pots boiling for 2026, so hopefully he has more work lined up, and the last question they asked was about the state of animation today, which he simply said, there's a lot of great stuff being made, but it doesn't feel like the best of times. He feels a little disconnected from the animation world, and he's just sitting here at home, sending smoke signals and spiderwebs into the stars. And that was his interview. 2 very different interviews about their creative processes, hopes, and aspirations. It sounds like a good portion of the show might be nonsense, but the overarching theme might be there in some type of way. All I know is I love creative stuff like this, and I hope everyone is at least a little more excited to check out The Elephant, which comes out on streaming on the 20th. But yeah, that's about all the information I have for today. This special is ramping up to be very special. I can feel it. If you guys want me to cover my thoughts and first impressions of The Elephant, please let me know down below. Also, let me know what you guys think of everything that we covered today. Are you guys excited for The Elephant? Did you even know about The Elephant? Is there anything that shocked you from the interviews that we talked about today? Let me know. I do sound like a broken record, but I really want to apologize for the lack of videos recently. As I mentioned in my last video, I got really sick, and it really affected my energy throughout the day, so that's why I wasn't able to create 2 videos last week. But I think it is safe to say that I think we are almost fully recovered, so we should be back to our regular scheduled programming. If you guys haven't already, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps out the channel a tremendous amount. As always, my name has been Alberto, or Pancake Yoshi. I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye bye.